How's it going, people? Bobby here, you might know me online as Ironhammer5, and today I bring you a review of the Smok Xpro M65 in red, not pink. Kind of sucked. It's kind of a long one, bear with it. There's quite a few little things about this that I wanted to kind of explain in detail and show you, so it takes a little while, but if you're thinking of buying one, then definitely watch it right through, because there's things about the ohm reading and stuff at the end, towards the end. So bear with me on it, and I'll see you at the other end. So here we are, guys. In case you care, this is what the box looks like. You can see it has different colour options on the side, bit of information on the side. Let's go over a few of these things. 65 watts of power, kinda. Fires down to 0.2, kinda. I'm assuming the sizes are probably as they say on the box. I haven't measured it to check. There's a scratch and check thing on there. Different colour options. I wanted pink, but I ended up with red because I messed up on the order. It didn't have a pink colour option, so I assumed that the pink that I'd seen in the picture was red. But there's a red one too, which they didn't have a picture of. But anyway, that's besides the point. I ended up with a red one. If we open it up, you can see there is the red one. And I hate red. I fucking hate red. So it's actually a slightly more rosy, pinky red than what it looks on camera. But it's still red. It's definitely not pink. I mean, you can see the contrast between the eye stick. That's what I wanted it to look like. That's what it does look like. Anyhow, so here is the mod. You can see on the front, it's got all the usual stuff, usual buttons and a screen. Smok on one side, Xpro M65 on the other side. There's the bottom with a charger on the bottom and some vent holes. And then there's your spring-loaded 510 pin, which we'll talk about again in a moment. To give you a quick overview of how it works, I'll move this box out of the way. It goes up to 65 watts. When you hold it, it scrolls. It's quite slow to get going, so it's kind of annoying if you want to go a long way, but you're not going to do that very often, so it's not really that much of an issue. It goes down to like 6 watts or something. I'm not going to bother going all the way down there. I don't know why every reviewer insists on saying it goes to 6 watts and then they have to go all the way down to 6 watts to show you that it actually does go down to 6 watts. Like, they're not just, why would I make it up? I'm not going to say it goes down to 6 watts, but it only goes down to 7, really. Like, well, I don't see why I have to prove it. I'm sure you can trust me that it goes down to 6 watts. And who wants to go down to 6 watts anyway? I don't know. So aside from that, you've got the menu options. You can change it from wattage mode to mech mode, which you press 3 times, and then you let it go onto that one, and then you press it on there to switch between those two, and then you leave it on which one you want. And on mech mode, it will just fire wherever the battery's at, and it actually shows you the voltage on the screen that it's firing at that time. And I think it takes into consideration the voltage drop by the looks of it from the numbers that I'm seeing on there. So then to switch back to wattage mode, 3 clicks, we leave it on option 1, let it go on there, and then we change it to wattage, and then we wait, and then it changes back to wattage mode. To power it off, we go 3 clicks, and then we press it to go on to number 2, we wait, and then we press it again, power off, and then we wait, and we get a goodbye. And then when it's off, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to turn it back on, and we get a welcome and a happy face, and you can see we're ready to go again. Check atomizer, and then on top of that, the other option that you have, you don't have to turn it off every time that you put it in your pocket. You can do 5 clicks, and then it locks it, and then you do 5 clicks to unlock it. But it's kind of annoying because it says locked, click 5 times when you unlock it. So you lock it, and then you take it out of your pocket, and then you press it, and you're not sure whether you locked it or you unlocked it, because it doesn't say unlocked, it says locked for both. You kind of get used to it, and there's how that works. So let me go over a couple of other things on here. The battery, it unscrews from the bottom. You have to take those 4 screws out, and the battery slides in. I don't think there's any need to show you how that works. There's just a kind of circular little tubey bit where you can slide it into, with a board which runs all the way down the side there. This button is the one that I changed. It's rubber, and it feels nice compared to the other one. The other one was hard plastic, the same colour as these. I wish to hell that they gave you black buttons for these as well, because you can hear those ones are rattly, and the original big button here was rattly too, but that one, if I hold those two, it doesn't rattle. You can still hear the other ones rattling a little, but that one's not rattly, and it feels nice, and it's soft, and it just feels nice to press. So I wish they gave you black buttons for these as well, or I wish they just came with the black buttons already, because I had to actually take this top part off to get the button out and change it for this black one, so it's not ideal. I think most people will probably prefer the black button. So then on top we have a 510 pin which is spring loaded, however it's kind of a weird spring loaded. It doesn't go down very far. It does, you can see it moves and it's really stiff. It's kind of crunchy feeling, but it doesn't move down very far. And what that means is if you get an atomizer such as this one, which is all covered in juice, because it's got quite a long 510 pin, there's a tiny, can you see that? Can you see me waving behind it? If I get the angle right, can you see it? There's a little gap underneath there. It doesn't go all the way down, which is kind of annoying when it's spring loaded. I mean, sure, everything makes a nice contact. I have no troubles with anything firing on there, but it does leave a gap with some atomizers when you have a long 510 pin. Also this tugboat here, I think you'll probably be able to see it even more on that. That's as far down as it goes, and there is a gap under there. It's not a massive gap, it's not anything that really annoys you, but what I don't like about that when that happens is if you were to drop it and it's not screwed all the way down flat, you can easily break the 510 connection or something, or at least bend it and get something stuck. You don't want to get an atomizer stuck on top of your mod and all of that. So I wish it was a little bit deeper, and at first I kind of like wasn't sure, because it's such a stiff spring. I was kind of really tying it down, and I was like, I don't know whether it's just the stiff spring, it won't go down further, or whether that's as far as it goes. But it doesn't quite let everything go down, but everything does make a connection and fire without any problems. You've got a charging port on the bottom. You can see on there it's a 1 to 2 amp charging port, so if you've got like a phone charger which is 2 amps, you can charge an 18650 battery in here real fast. It takes about an hour to charge up a battery on average, hour and 20 minutes or something, which is not bad at all. So other things to go over while we're up close here like this is when it's unlocked, if we put an atomizer on there, we can see once I fire it, it comes up on there 0.3, and when you fire it the screen goes bright. You can see that on there, and it's firing at 57 watts. It will fire with a full battery at 65 watts, but literally after a tiny amount of time of using it at 65 watts like that, it's going to come up and it will flash up on the screen and say power reduce, and then it will lower your wattage by 5 watts, so it will go down to like 60, and then sometimes you press it at 60 and it will say power reduce, and then it will go to 55, and as your battery drains lower, it kind of reduces how much power you can have. And I'm kind of on the fence about how much of a bad thing this is, because it's kind of a safety thing, because as your voltage reduces in your battery, the mod obviously has to do more work to keep up that wattage and keep the voltage the same. So I kind of get what it's doing and why it's doing it, but I think it might have been better like marking it as like a 50 watt mod, and that wouldn't happen so much, because I had this is a brand new Samsung 25R in here now, which I'm using at the moment, and it's fully charged. I just took it off charge when I started making the video. Before that, when I first got it, I was using a old eFest, the 35 amp ones, which aren't really 35 amps, but you know which ones I mean. I was using one of those, and it wouldn't even really fire at 65 watts at all. Like, it just power reduced me straight away. So if you're using an older, if you're getting one of these, I'd say buy a brand new battery to go with it. But it's just kind of annoying the way it does it. So with the eFest, I was only vaping at like 45 watts or something, and that was fine for a while, and then it would get to like 60% battery life, and then it would drop me down to 40 watts, and then as I got further it would drop me down to 35 watts, and then eventually at about 40% battery life it would just say that it hadn't got no battery left, but it was an old battery. With the newer battery, it gives me a lot more time before it drops, and it gives me, I get about the same as what I would expect from a Mech mod with a single 18650 in it, really, to be fair. The time when I can really feel it dropping off is probably about the same amount of time as when this starts to reduce your power, so it's not that big of a deal really, but the way it does it, it's kind of just frustrating, because if you buy a 65 watt mod and you're not aware of all the battery safety and all that kind of stuff and why it's doing that, you would expect to be able to vape at 65 watts until the battery runs out. That's just what you'd expect. And I assume that that would be the other option, is to, when it can't do it anymore, is just to turn it off and say the battery's dead and it needs to be charged. But because they're pushing so much from a single 18650 battery in this mod, 65 watts is a lot, and I would recommend anyone who wants to vape at 65 watts all the time get something with 2 batteries in it, because that's just going to last longer and it's going to work better and everything else. So I'm on the fence about that. I've explained it, and it's up to you to make your mind up whether you can deal with that. If you're someone that vapes at like 30, 35, 40 watts or something, and you put a brand new battery in here and you want to just run like an Atlantis tank or something on there at like 35 watts and just do that all day every day, that will probably be fine, and you won't run into that issue too much until the battery's really low anyway. So that's kind of annoying, and but kind of understandable in a way. I can't really make my mind up on that, like I've said so many times already. I can't make my mind up. You got the 510 that doesn't go in. What else? The charger is a real good fast charge. Other issues, the lock screen. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. I'll quickly show you the Mech Mod Mode here, where you can use it as kind of like a pass-through. So this is a full battery, and obviously there's going to be voltage drop at 0.3 ohms. But when we fire it, we can see it goes to 3.6 volts, and it's telling me that's 33 watts. So it tells you the watts and the ohms at the time. So the one last thing to mention when we get to this part is that you can forget all those numbers on there, because they're all fucking wrong. And this is the big thing. I'm going to reposition in my seat because I'm about to rant a little bit, just because it annoys me. So it's just a dumb thing that shouldn't happen. And I'm not the only one who has this happen. It happens on all of them apparently. So you can see that atomizer on there is 0.3 ohms. Now if I take that same atomizer and put it onto an iStick, which is running out of battery, it actually says 0.5 ohms on there. I don't know if that's right. I think it's actually more like 0.4 something. So let's take it and put it on an ohm reader. Let's see what that says. 0.49. Right. So what happens is, this is 0.49. The iStick is rounding it up to 0.5, which makes sense. The Xpro M65 reads everything at 0.1 ohm less than what it actually is. So this is 0.49, so this reads it at 0.39, but then it only displays to one digit, so it displays it as 0.3. So therefore, when you're vaping, it's going to be, all the wattage calculations are slightly off. So if we put this back to the wattage mode, and if we have a little look, I want to take this down to 30 watts and compare it with the iStick, just to show you what that means, just in practical. Those of you who understand ohms will understand that it calculates it all wrong, but just to kind of show you how it really works. So if we take this to 30 watts, and we can see it's 0.3, and when I fire it, it will tell us the voltage there, 3.6 volts for 30 watts, right? But really it's pretty much a 0.5 ohm coil in there, and we can see at 30 watts on the iStick, 0.5 is 3.8 volts. So on here it's firing it at 3.6 volts and telling you it's 30 watts, and on here it's firing it at 3.8 volts and telling you it's 30 watts. So it's like 0.2 difference depending on your coil. Like say if this was a let's have a look at this one and see how it comes out. There's other ways when it happens, it doesn't work quite so bad. This is 0.39, so when you're on those 0.39s, it's still going to read it at 0.29. So I had trouble when I built an atomizer at 0.28, and then when I put it on this mod, it was reading it at 0.18, and then it wouldn't fire it because it just thinks that you're trying to fire a 0.18 coil on there, and it only fires down to 0.2, but it's really a 0.28 coil. So that kind of ruins everything about this mod for me. Like, how can you, like, ohms are a measurement that you can take, and how you could put a mod out there without checking that the ohm reading on this matches what ohms really are. I just don't get how you could do that. And then to release from an M50 and then upgrade it to an M65 and then release that, and it still has the same problem. It's just dumb, because it means all the numbers are wrong and everything's off. Bear in mind, in most cases, unless you're right up the high end, like on a point something 9, and then you're not going to get such a big difference. It's normally 0.1 volt different that is firing compared to, say, an iStick or something else that's calculating it correctly. But it's just ridiculous. Why does that even happen? So most vapors are going to adjust to taste anyway, and they're not going to be comparing between different mods, especially kind of the people that this is marketed towards, I would say. You can adjust it to taste. You can put it up a little bit higher, so if you like 30 watts on an iStick, you can put it to 32 watts or 34 watts or something on here, and you're going to get the same kind of vape. And if you want to have it in your mind that that's happening, then that's what you can do. But to have to kind of think about that the whole time, it's just annoying. It shouldn't be like that. So I think that's all I wanted to show you up close. Let's have a little vape, talk a little bit more, and I'm going to get the fuck out of here. So I told you it was going to be a bit long, and it was. I wanted to make sure I showed all those things and kind of demonstrated what they were and what they mean, because I think to give a verdict on this, really, if you're informed about all those little issues, it's not a bad mod. So this is a 0.49 ohm twisted 26 gauge single coil setup at 45 watts, and for something like this, I mean, this mod, you'll vape it until the battery gets low. It'll tell you to charge it, and you don't run into too many issues vaping like this with this mod. Oh, and it's double rainbow from Liquid Voyage, by the way. Shout out Liquid Voyage. So like I say, if you're kind of informed about all those things, like if you've had me sit down in a video and be kind enough to explain all the issues that come when you buy one of these mods, it's not that bad. You can get around it. I've been using it a lot, and you can get around it. It's a nice little mod. It's a bit bigger than an iStick 30 watt. Not too much difference in it, as you can see there. It's about the same thickness. I actually prefer the look of it to the iStick. It's 22mm, so an ATI sits flush there, and it also sits flush with this indented bit here. So it fits nicely. Everything looks okay on there. My phone goes off, and like, that's another thing. There's juice in the top part where this fits on here. You can see there's kind of a little gap, and I kind of worry that because I'm such a messy motherfucker when it comes to my vaping, I'm kind of concerned that juice is going to get down there over time and get in the circuit and maybe fuck it up somehow. I've made a mess on it plenty of times, as I do when I'm putting juice into ATIs, and I haven't run into an issue yet. But it does concern me that could be an issue. I'd prefer if it was covered or sealed somehow, but it isn't. That's another tiny thing I forgot to mention up close. But I've kind of told you everything. There's not much more to say. I've spent plenty of time explaining it all to you. I'm on the fence as to whether I think it's good or not. For the price, it's not far off an iStick 50 watt, which I believe will just fire at 50 watts until the battery runs out. This will fire at 50 watts for a good time with a fresh battery in it anyway. So it's not that far off if you're looking for a comparison. If you prefer the look of this, and you prefer the shape of it or whatever, or the colours that they offer, maybe choose this instead. All I can do is inform you of it. You can make your mind up whether you want to buy it or not. If that ohm meter would just read things at not being 0.1 less than what they are, I'd be far less bugged by the mod with the other little niggles that are there with it. The thing about the battery being taken out, it's a pain in the arse to change. Some people have said that's a real negative thing in other reviews that I've read, but personally, this kind of device is designed to kind of be used like an iStick, and you just put a battery in it and then you leave it in there, you charge it by USB, and that's how I've been using it, and that's how it's intended to be used. So I think it's actually a benefit over the iStick, rather than being a kind of negative that it's so hard to get out. At least when this battery dies eventually, you can put a new one in it and carry on with it. With this one you can't do that. Yes, if you could quickly change it in and out, that would be probably better if you wanted to swap it, if you only have one mod or whatever. It does have pass-through, but it's not real pass-through, so it kind of stops charging when you vape, and then once the screen goes off again after 60 seconds, the pass-through kicks back in and it starts charging again. So it's not like a real pass-through really, but it does allow you to vape it while it's charging, kinda. I think that's all, guys. Like I say, you're gonna have to make your mind up on this one if you're thinking about buying one. I don't really want to say either way. I've been using it, I'll keep using it. I know that I have to turn it up a little bit more than what I expect I should. One more thing, just because, let's put a tank on it just so you can see how it looks with a tank on top. That's an E-Leaf Milo, which is not too different to an Atlantis, or any of the other sub tanks are probably similar in kind of size. So if you vape a tank, there you go. There's that for you, people. I think I'll leave it there, and I have to leave you with a vape, so I'm going to have to put my RDA back on because that tank was empty, as you saw. So there you are, guys. I'll see you all soon. Leave a comment if you've got any questions at all about this device or anything else. I always do my best to answer it. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm IronHammer5 there now. I'll explain it in my vlog, which is coming up tomorrow, hopefully. And there's the Xpro M65. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Catch all my other videos, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.